We are both digital learning consultants from Grantwood AEA, and we love a theme, if you can't already tell. So today we're going to be talking about how to use digital tools for the 4 C's. My background is in early elementary education, so I taught kindergarten through 2nd grade for 15 years. And as I was always trying to work on those standards and the 4 C's, I found it sometimes tricky with little kids to do those things. And so Gina and I thought we would brainstorm some ideas, and we do have some outside of the box things that you might think, oh, wow, they're asking us to do that. So we hope that you kind of play along and give it a shot while you are with us today, and we're both very informal. So if you have questions, please shout them out at us, and or if you're like, no, that's not going to happen, you can tell us that too, and we'll try and work with you a little bit. Yeah, okay?
You can find our slides at dlgwaea.org/itech. The camping to glamping ones are more towards the top, correct?
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But there's screen grabs of all of the different sessions that our team is presenting here at itech, and so you can find this particular slide deck on there to open up to the resources. There's lots of different resources and tools and things linked off of the slide deck, and so if it's one that you want to add to your drive or be able to find later on, you'll always have access to these resources and be able to take them back and use them with your kiddos.
Yep, and then I always like to show this tip because I think it's good to know when you are gathering resources. Is once you get into our slide deck, if you're a Google user, up in the left-hand corner right now where you can see my little star, I don't have this because I own it, but there's a little Google Drive sign with the plus sign on top of that. If you click on that, it will add this session straight into your drive so that you will always have it. And if Gina and I use this again, we'll continue to update it, so you would have those resources as well too. So that's another nice way to keep track of it in case you lose that link somewhere along the way. All right, are we there? Everybody's good? Not yet? Okay.
Maybe?
Yeah.
On my screen, I'm not seeing the symbol to add it to.
Are you signed into your Chrome or signed into Drive? Why would that be? I might have published it to the web. Okay. That might be why.
That's what it looks like. That's what I had to do is re-enter it in. The first time I did it, it didn't show up, but now it is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hit refresh. Try that. There's something I was just going to do. Oh, wait. So you can see that closed captioning? No? Yeah, I know. Okay, are we there now? Are we getting close? Yeah, okay. So if you're unfamiliar with the 4 C's, just a little chat about that. 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. So we're going to hopefully give you some ideas with all 4 of those C's today. Those 4 C's, we usually, when we're looking for tools or uses for tools or things that we're doing with our students, also come from the ISTE student standards, which we use as kind of a guideline or a path, I would say, to kind of give us what we should be doing with our students and what that looks like. Those are linked on there too, in case you wanted to take a look at those.
And to connect back to like this morning with the keynote, the idea of essential skills that Ken talked about, these 4 C's would probably fall within the realm of essential skills for our students and things that we want them to do beyond, just not the cognitive, but beyond those academic standards that we're definitely assessing and providing them learning opportunities around. We want to also provide them learning opportunities around these essential skills as well. Okay, so critical thinking to start with. With our littles, we might be wondering, okay, so what are some opportunities that we might have to infuse that into what we're doing with kids or with little kids? And I asked Mindy about this, and Mindy being the elementary teacher, which I was not, I was a high school, but I do have my own personal little kids at home, so I feel like I kind of know something about them. She was like, yeah, doing some data analysis is, kind of important. I was like, okay, Mindy, talk more to me about that, because I don't know what you mean by data analysis with little kids. And she's like, well, don't your kids bring home like that birthday chart, you know, from the first day of school where they go around and they ask each other about when's your birthday, and they start charting out how many people have a birthday in September, how many people have a birthday in October. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then she's like, yeah, there's lots that you could do with sheets. And I was like, okay, so let's continue to explore this. And we found some great resources from Christine Pinto. Has anyone ever looked at her resources? Okay, so if you, yeah, she's one of the ones that does a lot with Gaff for Littles. And she has got some awesome graphing sheets that are all templated out that allow you to do some really cool graphing, manipulative graphing activities with littles. One caveat to keep in mind with this is that these things will work definitely the best on Chrome. So if you're using iPads rather than like Chromebooks or laptops or desktops, that's just something to think about. And so we're going to take a look at one. Should we look at Leaves on My Tree? Mm-hmm. And so if you click on any one of these links, it's going to ask you to copy the document. And so this one here, Mindy's just going to make a quick copy of it. And so that will open up then this template that Christina's put together for us. And hopefully, if it keeps on chugging along, we'll have our little drawing pop up here. That is very cute. Working, working, working. Okay, still going. But what this allows the kids to do, there it is, the drawing, is when the students tap on the drawing, it's going to open that drawing up live. And so students can then add as many leaves to their tree as they want to. So like, say for example, you want to add 4 orange leaves or 3 yellow leaves or whatever. Add as many as you want to the tree, but there's magic, well, I don't know, I call it magic. I don't think it's magic, it's coding, on the back side that puts in those numbers too. And so the students can each have their own, you know, individualized manipulative drawing that they can work with and then do some data analysis with. So kind of similar to that birthday example. So then Mindy's circulating drawing is going to show up here with the leaves that she added to it, and then she has the opportunity then to tally them up. And there should be, I think that, doesn't it populate in there? Some, or you have to populate
Yep, you
in
have
there?
to do it yourself.
Okay, so you have to go through and say, how many orange leaves do we have? How many yellow leaves? And she's just filling in those numbers in the chart that's on the side. So there's several different examples of these sheets that Christine has made up that do kind of combine drawings and Google Sheets with some data analysis in there as well. I guess a couple things that we talked about with regards to just best practice in using these. When you make those copies, they're going to be called Copy of Leaves on My Tree. It might be worth it to call it Master Copy, and then don't mess with that one, okay? So your first one is your master copy, don't mess with that. And then from your master copy, make an additional copy and call that one 2018-19, right? And so that's the one that you're going to use this year. And so then for all of your kids to have them work on this, what Mindy and I talked about is maybe even making a copy or a duplicate sheet for each one of the kids. So if I'm Willa and I sit down like maybe at math rotations time to take a look at this particular one, I'm going to look down at the bottom and I'm going to find the sheet that's for Willa, and I'm going to just do my manipulations there on that one. So you can just copy or duplicate that sheet and it makes a clean template for everyone, or for all the kids.
So on your master sheet, I would make duplicates of the clean one right from the start and make as many tabs as you might need. I shared this with a school district on Friday, and they're like, we use student numbers every year. So what we're going to do is label each tab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And then I don't ever have to go in and put student names because my students use their numbers all the time. So I will have this master copy with all of these tabs labeled by student name. And then next year when I want to reuse it, I'm just going to go in and make a copy of it and it's done and I never have to do it again. And so that was one way that they thought would even minimize the amount of time it would take them to prep it. Another thing that I would say is that what I think is neat about Christine Pinto's stuff is that she's actually doing it. You know, we're up here sharing something that she does with her students, with kindergartners on Chromebooks. So we hope that that means that it's very accessible and something that you could give a try. I always felt like data analysis with digital tools was really tricky with my young students. And I thought, oh, if I would have known this would have really made a difference. It would have been a great way to have my students analyze their data. Some other things that you can think about too, like with second graders, is that I'm not probably going to put those templates of I have 3 orange leaves, right? They have to generate their own things to tell about this graph or something like that instead of putting in those template sentences or those sentence frames, and that will make a difference for them too as well. And then the other thing you want to remember is that when you share this link with your students, is anybody using Seesaw or Google Classroom, those things, okay? So when you share this link with your students, you want to make sure that you go to the advanced and then change, and anyone with the link can use this. It probably is going to default to anyone within your domain name. You want it anyone with the link because for the most part, your kindergartners might not be signed into their Google account if they have one. They might not even have one. So you want to make sure that you do anyone with the link, and then down here you want to change from can view to can edit, which can be kind of scary when you think, oh wow, my students can get on each other's tabs. Absolutely they can. And it's a great time to talk about digital citizenship and say we're all going to use our own tabs. It's just a good time to have those conversations in real life situations instead of, you know, just the hypothetical, don't share your, you know, phone number online, okay?
So Mindy, speaking from like a younger kid teacher perspective, how would you introduce this into your classroom?
I probably would start with, you know, up on my smartboard or my projector, and we would just do one together, right? And then with an interactive whiteboard, it'd be easy for kids to come up and, you know, I'm going to show you how to color in one square, right? And then send them back and have them do it on their own or with a partner together, and eventually work my way into the fact that I probably could just put that link on Seesaw or Google Classroom and they know how to do it. But it will take some time. But we do find, even myself, I'm terrified of Google Sheets. Is anybody else terrified of like spreadsheets a little bit? You don't have to say, I will. But if you think about students in such a young age, sheets are very powerful. There are so many crazy things you can do with sheets. If we can get our students in and using them even at such a young age, imagine the things that they will eventually be able to do with them. Yeah.
So I might have been looking down and manipulating.
Did
you fill in the red, yellow, orange?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just did that with the little paint can up here at the top.
Well, I heard her say magic, and I thought maybe it filled in by itself.
No, that I did myself.
Okay.
How do we feel about that? Okay, so there are a ton of them here. There's also the link for Christine Pinto. She's also at Pinto Beans with a Z on Twitter too, and she shares lots of stuff. And her hashtag that she uses a lot is Gap for Littles, and she also has a book that she's written. Lots of really cool stuff, and lots of free templates to use. Mm-hmm. Okay. And we kind of went through those tips and wrote them down for you too. We kind of talked through how to do those things, but they're also there in case you need to look back of how to. Now, what did she say was maybe the best way to get this started so that they're all there too?
Mm-hmm. With the iPad users, one thing that we did encounter, we did figure out as we were working with this, is that opening up that drawing on an iPad that doesn't work, and to add the leaves to it. So maybe this is something to collaborate with, like your media specialist, or during media time. Say, hey, I'd like you to work with them or would it be possible to work with them in opening up this sheet and having them add a few leaves here? It would probably blend in well with maybe some of the instruction that you're providing them around, like using a mouse and how to use a mouse, and get comfortable with that. And then we can do the spreadsheet part back in the classroom with the iPads that I have. And so that was just one thing we wanted you to be aware of, is that being able to add the leaves to the tree on the iPad, that doesn't work very well, or at all. At all.
On an iPad, yep.
And so you definitely want to make sure that you provide them access to some sort of a Chromebook or a desktop or a laptop to do that part of it.
Okay. All right, so if that makes you a little squeamish, here is one really quick win, and it is this thing called Toy Theater. Has anyone seen this before? Okay, so if you go to toytheater.com, there are actually lots of different things that you can take a look at here. However, they have all of these really great built-in charts already created for you. So those old color bears that, oh, this is bars. I was looking for the one that's a bears. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Bear counters, there they are. So this works on the iPad too, just as well, because it's just a web tool, but it will work on your iPad as well. And the kids can just, maybe they've got a bag of bears and then go in to graph how many they have. So there are those. The other thing that I note when I showed this the other day, people loved, are the dice. So I love dice. I think I use dice all the time. However, sometimes you just have a day where you need digital dice and not the actual noisy dice. So you have the option to change to different kind of dice here. Here's just the regular one, and I can click 3 dice and then throw it. It even has the cute little sound to go with it, and work with dice that way. There is also a digital clock, and when I say digital, I mean analog, I guess, that allows you to move hours and minutes, which I really like too. Sometimes that's kind of a hard tool to find. So lots and lots of different things, and usually I find that once I show this tool, no one listens to me from here on out, which is fine too. So if you want to play, you definitely can do that. There are some other, like I said, content areas here. I feel like math is its strongest category on this website though, so feel free to take a look at those and play with them a little bit too. Oh, and spinners with probability could be nice too.
And then another piece that I guess we're kicking around as ideas for ways to glamp up or build up critical thinking. Having the kids engage in some sort of a form and analyzing responses that they get. And so maybe they construct like 3 questions that we're going to all answer. Something about your favorite color, when your birthday is, and what's your favorite month of the year, or something like that, or your favorite holiday or whatnot. And they respond to those, and then they can take a look at the visual response and the responses of the form and do some comparison of the data that's brought in front of them. So, oh, look at here, we can see that like 2/3 of our class have birthdays at the beginning of the year or whatnot, or 2/3 of our class thinks that June is the best month. And then a couple other tools that we linked off of there too with regards to coding to build critical thinking. Codable is going to be an iPad app that just helps build some of that logic and problem-solving thinking for students. It's very user-friendly and little accessible, and so it's one that they can get going with and start right away. Scratch and Scratch Junior, or Scratch 2.0, Scratch Junior, also great for building critical thinking with regards to coding and building that logical thinking and sequential thinking up in youngers.
Scratch Junior is my favorite. Is anybody using Scratch Junior? Good, yeah. What I really think is neat about Scratch Junior is eventually, hopefully, students will graduate to Scratch as they get older. But what I love about it is that it's drag and drop, obviously, so it's just an iPad use. But there are so many ways that I see students when they're using it is that they just start to figure things out on their own. Like I might start with saying, "Oh, can you figure out how to get the Scratch pad across the screen?" And pretty soon they're trying to figure out how to get Scratch to follow all the way around the square. Being able to pull different backgrounds in and images and things like that. It makes it, I think, more real life for kids. It's not just a video game, but it's also a lot about problem solving and just kind of making it real life for them. So it's a good one.
Can I ask a question about that?
Absolutely.
So, Codable, when I used it last year,
Yes.
some of my teachers,
Yeah.
there's only so much you can use, and then you have to start paying.
That is correct. And so you can still, so that is true. So there are student names and things that you can put in it and create classes and things like that. But you're right, it's a little bit more limited than it used to be. It used to be completely free and you just went through the levels and you kind of would hit an end. So I think it depends too. So Scratch Junior is completely free, right? So if Codable is something that you want to start using, we are seeing schools starting to, purchase things. So it would be something that you could look at. It also has a built-in curriculum, which is really nice too, that teachers can access. So we like to deal with free things always, but sometimes there are other good tools too that you might be worth looking at. How's that sound?
Scratch Junior, there's an endless.
It's an endless. Yep, Scratch is completely free. Okay. All right, so communication. I know some of you said that you were Seesaw users. I think one of Seesaw's best kept secrets is their blogging feature. We're not seeing a ton of schools quite dabbling in that yet, but there is a blogging feature inside Seesaw. What's nice about that is it probably takes you about 30 seconds to set up. It's not real tricky. And it takes the posts that students have already created and they can click there's a little globe button under it. So if you've seen when students post and there's a little globe button under there, they click that little globe button and then it sends it to the teacher asking for them to post it to the blog. What I always thought was tricky in an elementary classroom is hearing that we're supposed to have this global audience, and I'm like, who do you want me to globally communicate? I mean, they're young, is it safe? I was very concerned about that. So what's really nice about Seesaw is that students can access blogs to other classrooms all inside Seesaw. So they're not going to a different website. They're all interconnected inside Seesaw and they're all Seesaw blogs. There's not a lot of extra work for you. You just have to approve it. So if they say, hey, I'd like to put this on our blog, they just request it and you approve it and off you go. The other thing, if you're looking, if that's something that you want to try, I suggest finding someone across the hall that would be willing to see what it looks like. So a lot of times we talk about if you're doing a science kit and you want to share your investigations together or your reflections about those science investigations, online is a great place to do that with your class across the hall. Or if the Global Read Aloud is a very popular place for students and teachers to use Seesaw blogs to have them communicate about a common book that they want to discuss. It's also, once again, a great time to start talking to your students about digital citizenship. Seesaw does a really nice job, and I think it's on another slide yet, but they have all these feedback stems for students to kind of get started with those online comments, because if we want our students to be better communicators online than we are as adults, and you know what I'm talking about because you've been on Facebook, we have to start at a young age and show them the appropriate way to provide feedback, and not just, oh, this is good, or I like it, with 15 emojis at the end. So it's really a great time for them to feel like they have an authentic audience, because just talking about those things and them actually not living it isn't going to improve their practice at all. So yeah, to turn on your Seesaw blog, you have to just go into your settings and turn it on, and it'll prompt you from there to go in and get started. There are, on the next slide there are step-by-step directions of how to do that. So you just have to click on that link and it will take you there. There are also some digital citizenship posters and things that Seesaw has created. And then if you are looking to step outside your classroom walls and really you're like, okay, I'm gonna connect with another school in New Zealand, Seesaw has their own Google Doc where you can go and find Seesaw other connected blogs and add them so that your students can interact with those students. And usually there's a teacher email involved with that too, so you can email them and say, hey, I'd like to connect with you. Do you maybe this week want to read the same story together and we can talk about it online? Or maybe do even some sort of like mystery Skype, like we don't know where they're from, let's see if we can figure it out. So it really is an authentic way for them to connect. And that link is here for all of those Seesaw blogs.
So other ways that we kind of kicked around to glamp up our, communication experience within the classroom. Some that are pretty easy or relatively easy to get going, especially with littles. Flipgrid. Any of you Flipgrid users or use Flipgrid?
Oh, there we go.
Nice. Okay. So with that one, basically you have it set up. Kids go there, they hit the green button, right, and record a little video of themselves responding to whatever stimulus that you put out there. What's really nice is that now Flipgrid has done like the opposite of most of our favorite ed tech tools and gone from like a paid platform to an all-free platform, right?
It's unheard of, right?
Which, yeah, I'm like,
unheard
of. New model. Now kids have the opportunity, everyone, to respond to one another's posts. And so you can invite the kids to, hey, post something that you read about in Read to Self time in rotations today, and then respond to at least one other classmate's. Like make some sort of connection to what they read and how you feel like that connects with yours. Maybe that's something that they do the next day or whatnot. Either way, there's opportunities for them to connect. And relatively easy to use with just that big green plus button that you use to record yourself. Padlet is another one that is relatively easy for our littles to use. You have the Padlet pulled up for them or provide them a link or a QR code to scan to get to the Padlet, and then they just add their ideas. What's really nice now in Padlet is that grid feature too, so you can organize different responses or things that you want them to think about. So maybe you want them to post something about the setting in their story, something about characters, and something about problems that they're seeing. And so they could post in those different categories and then also share their ideas in that way. And then back channel chat, Mindy, do you want to talk about that one? Because
sure. So back channel chat, today's meet went away in the last year, so I know, which was just like totally catastrophic. And I don't feel like there is a great ulterior place to go that is as good as today's meet was. However, there is something called back channel chat, and you invite or share for students to get on there and they can interact much like they can on today's meet. It just isn't, I don't think it's user friendly, so I wouldn't necessarily or at all recommend it probably for your kindergarten students. Second graders, maybe it would be a good place for them to go and check that out, but that would not be where I would say, sending your kindergartners. I would think Flipgrid or Padlet would be much better than that. And I don't think Gina mentioned this, Padlet went the sad direction. It's like the tool we love to hate and hate to love. If you do not have a Padlet account, if you sign up now, you get 3 for free, and that's it. And it's a pretty expensive tool now. I don't know, I go from free to expensive. I don't know how that works, but you can reuse those boards. So we see a lot of times that teachers are using them for like a book review, and then that Padlet gets pretty big. Although I think now they limit how big your Padlet can be and how much information you can have on it. But if you have used Padlet in the past and have already created them, then you're good to go. It's just that if you're starting from scratch, there's 3 that you can get for free. Okay. All right, so collaboration is next. And Gina and I actually, well, you're going to do the first one. That one's yours.
Okay, so the tool that we think of, I guess, probably the most when we talked about collaboration was Google Slides. Just because it's very, very easy for students to collaborate on Google Slides. Takes minimal effort from the teacher to set up the collaborative environment in Google Slides. Setting up a slide deck, making sure that it's shared with anyone with the link can edit, and then adding perhaps like a slide or a name to each slide for each kid. So Mindy and I, we set up this little slide deck to just kind of talk a little bit about asking and answering questions. And so what we wanted was the kids to pose questions to a partner. So if they were working in partnership, I'm going to ask Mindy a question and she's going to answer that question as well. We were thinking a little bit about, okay, so how can we do this with maybe minimal typing or not as much typing or not as much emphasis on that particular piece of it? And so we came up with a couple different ideas. One of them is to use an extension called Talk and Comment. And so what
Let me show you where that link is at so that you can, it's the Talk and Comment. So it's on the next slide, Talk and Comment Chrome extension, and that will take you right there. Yeah, okay. Not back.
And so what Mindy could do is she can use her Talk and Comment, actually take a picture of yourself quick with the webcam.
Okay, I don't get asked to do that very often. That's just under, and your students can do this too, insert image, and then your camera pops on. Right here?
Yep.
Colonel Sanders. Oh, I have my eyes closed. That's okay, that's more fun. Hey.
So she took a quick picture of herself, and now she'll use that Talk and Comment extension to ask her question.
Gina, which part of your book is the favorite? Not a very well.
And so it's created just this link of what she says. So she's going to use her Control-C, just copy, and then click on her image and link it to her image. And so what that will create is a little player under her image that we can then listen to what she asks. And so
Gina,
that
which
takes
part
the
of your
emphasis
book is
of
the favorite?
typing and the ability to type off of the students. They don't have to be able to do that. They're not going to be sitting there for 20 minutes trying to find the A or trying to find the B or whatever, and lets them just really get the ideas out. Additionally, there's another extension. I don't think it's up on Mindy's board or extensions up there. That's called voice and typing anywhere.
Voice and typing.
I think I have it linked on the slide deck. And that just allows you to basically dictate whatever it is that you want to type anywhere. So in Google Classroom, for example, if you wanted to post a question or something like that, and you didn't want the kids to be spending all day trying to type, that voice typing anywhere would let them just dictate their answer. It types it out for them, they paste it in there. The one thing that we found with the Talk and Comment tool is that it's really necessary to do some refreshing. So after you've inserted your first link to what you've said, make sure you refresh before you try to insert another voice comment, because sometimes the old one sticks around.
But that's just recently, so I don't know if they're just like working through something, because it was working fine, and then the other day we tried it again, and we're like, oh, it's holding on to it. So it might be something that we just had problems with recently, but we'll get cleared up. But it's nice for students to be able to record their voice in slides, because that's just not something that they can do. So it's kind of a nice way to to get them in there and using these tools. Okay, oh, let me go back here one smidge. All right, so here's another one, reader's response. And this one I did as use template, so I wanted to show kind of the directions first, and then you can decide if you want to add it instead of forcing you to make a copy. Now you can look through it to decide if you want to make a copy. Looking through, one of the things that you might want to do if you're using a collaborative slide deck with your younger students is to do a link with a student name as a table of contents. So if I'm going to just make a, I should maybe just go into the original since our Wi-Fi is a little slow. There we go. Okay. So when I have a copy of this reader's response, I'm going to show you the main cards here, and then we can talk a little bit about how to link on a first slide. Is after students read a story, they can recommend it to a friend, but I wanted as little typing as possible. So way over here on the side, students can add their name in if they would like. You just have to scroll over here, and on the if they're using an iPad, oops, what's going on here? It opens up to that. So they can add their name here so friends can see. They can use that talk and comment if they would like to, or take a picture of the book that they've read and add it here. They can give a recommendation about how it made them feel. So maybe this story is a funny one. They can just click and add that emoji right in here. This book made me feel happy, or it was funny. They can put a story retell, once again with that extension that Gina showed earlier, or they could type, or they could use emojis too. One thing that you might want to think about if you're going to have your students emojis, using emojis, is maybe pull some of those emojis first for them and add them instead of letting them into emojis unleashed.
And you get a lot of poop.
You'll get a lot of poop emojis. So I would suggest doing that. If you want them to be images, so if I just pull them in, they'll come across as text boxes, but you can actually download emojis. If you go to Emojipedia, you can download those emojis as images and pull them into anything, which is really nice because then they become a little bit more movable if you're using them on things. And then they can do a thumbs up or thumbs down depending on how they feel about that story. So it could be a spot where students go to just recommend a book, or a lot of times teachers are looking for some accountability when students are doing read to self or read to someone. And so kids could sit together and say, oh, we read this book together. We're going to take a little bit of time and share the book that we've read and then give a recommendation, and then other students could go in and take a look at it. So you could share this link if you wanted to. I would put it attach it to a QR code and put it in my classroom library. So students could just scan it with a QR code reader. And if you're using Seesaw, you're probably pretty familiar with that now. So that students could just scan it and it would take them right to it. And then they'd be able to get right to that book review instead of I have to log in and now I have to find that link. Using a QR code would be a quick way for them to get there.
Mm-hmm. Alternatively, if during reading rotations, if technology is one of those, or you have 4 devices or something at one of the centers, having the slide deck already pulled up and ready to go for them right there, and just saying the one thing that we want you to do is before you leave the center, make sure that you go back to the table of contents page so that our friends can find their name and go back and go to their slide when it's their turn to come.
So if you are adding names to a table of content page, so students can find maybe their slide that they're going to be editing, I just create a little text box here, and we'll use Gina's name. And then I just do like I would to insert a link. I always use Command or Control K because it's a keyboard shortcut. But you can also go up here to the top. I don't even know where it is up here. There it is. And insert link. And then right down here is your magic. It says slides in this presentation. So I can link then Gina's slide, which would be slide number 3. And then when Gina comes in and goes to the table of contents, she finds her name and clicks on it, and it goes right to Gina's slide. So she doesn't have to go, thumb through all these slides looking for her. They get lost in there too. Okay?
And I like how Mindy made her table of contents slide have a different background color than the other slides. That's just a quick visual cue. If our instruction is to go back to the table of contents slide, find the orange one, go back there, have it queued up on that before you leave.
And then this is a stolen idea. And if any of you are Casey Bell fans, Casey does a lot of stuff with Google. She created this magnetic poetry. She did it in Google Drawings, but Google Drawings doesn't work on the iPad. So I wanted something that you could use on an iPad. So the way this works is she created all of these little words that look just like your refrigerator magnets. The directions of how to use it here are on the front. I'm just going to go to, once again, I put a table of contents in here. And this is all Casey's stuff, so I'm not taking any credit for it. But she has her table of contents here with a little Halloween theme. And then all of these little words. Now, there are a ton of words on here, so I would suggest deleting words that you don't, because you don't want kids to be overwhelmed. And once you start moving magnets around on your refrigerator, you know how they kind of get lost. So before you duplicate this slide, I would go through and maybe delete any words that you don't want. But they could work with a partner, and I maybe start with a word, and then Gina has to find a word to go next. These, I'm just pulling them in. I'm really not trying to make sense. And put together a Halloween poem with all of the words already built in, which is kind of nice. Just something different to do, a great collaborative activity. You could even try and rhyme things if you wanted to. And what I would say about all of these little words that's nice is they're images. So they could click on it and delete it, but they're not going to click inside it and do something like make it misspelled or something like that. She created, God bless her, all of these words in Google Drawings, which is why I borrowed her idea and didn't do it myself. But she does have other ones like this too. So if you're interested in an activity like this, or you're like, oh, my kids really like that, we're going to try one in January or something like that. She does have some other, I think she's got a snowman one or something like that too, that they could give a shot to. Her name is Casey Bell, and it's Casey with a K, A-S-E-Y, Bell is B-E-L-L.
And her blog is Shake Up Learning.
Shake Up Learning, yep. Okay, we both linked, so Gina linked her Talk and Comment Chrome extension here, and I did the Emoji Keyboard Chrome extension. The other one I didn't put on here was Emojipedia. Let me find that real quick and link it. And that's the one where I download them as images, the emojis as images. And that will get you there too. Okay? Okay, last one, and this is the one that creativity. Elementary teachers are the best creativity teachers there are. So on this little Venn diagram, depending on what your device is, there are different things for you to check out. We try to think of ones that maybe you weren't familiar with already, so we left some of the age-old, absolutely awesome ones off of here and tried to add ones that maybe you hadn't heard of before. We'll start with the app. So the Quick app, well, that's the one with the Q, and if you click on those images, it'll give you a link to go straight there. Quick is an app that allows you to create these little tiny movies just from pictures in your camera roll. You tap, 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 tap them, it sets it to music and a theme, you share it. So you can put it into Seesaw if you want to, because you can download it to your camera roll. I use it for all of my, like I don't do scrapbooks for my kids anymore. I just do little quick videos, and then I keep them for my kids to look at later. So download that one and play with that one for a little bit. The Coma here is stop motion. And the reason we put these here is because we thought you might want to just play with these instead of, seeing us play with them. So Coma is a stop motion one, which takes little pictures with different time intervals. So there might be a picture a second or a picture every 3 seconds. So if students are building something with Play-Doh and they set it up, it'll take a picture every 3 seconds and show them as they're creating something. A lot of times we see that with Play-Doh as students use the Play-Doh to demonstrate like the life cycle or something like that. So then they'll take pictures as like their caterpillar moves across their desk, and then maybe the cocoon is, swaying in the wind, I don't know. And butterfly, things like that. So that's a fun one to try too.
Yeah, I think last year or 2 years ago that we had the kids who were showing the life cycle of a seed. And so they used Play-Doh to try to demonstrate that, and then created little stop motion movies of that. And so they had their seed go into the ground, sprout up, make a tree, and then the tree died eventually or something like that. And we all sang Kumbaya together as we went through that life cycle. No, but they did demonstrate their understanding or demonstrate their mastery of that particular topic by showing it in that more creative way.
Okay. The last one there is Toontastic 3D. I know Gina's a ELA person through and through, and Toontastic allows students to animate I think it's mostly for story retell is kind of how it started. It has a story map within it, and so the students will create these little characters. They can draw their own. They can use built-in characters that are already there. And it makes like these movable puppets, and they can record their voice as they're retelling a story. And that was a free one. It used to be $10 an app, so now it's super free and super awesome. Also went the other direction. As far as the web ones, Vocaroo is just a voice recording, so students can just click record and it records their voice. That's just an easy web tool. The one that I will show you though, because this is a quick win too, is and then I was like, oops, what's happening? I'm gonna pop up. Gina just shared this the other day, and somebody had a really good idea, didn't they?
Oh yeah. So I shared this with some younger teachers, or I had a mixed group. They were all the way from K to 12th grade teachers that were in the room at that time. And I wasn't so sure about this one. I was like, well, I don't know with youngers what you might do. And this teacher who teaches kindergarten, she was like, oh, Jolly Phonics, I can do my Jolly Phonics with this. And so she was saying we can make little GIFs of ourselves doing the Jolly Phonics, the different, and she had all of the sounds. I don't know what all the sounds are. I know there's an oi and an on and something. Anyway, so, and you can download your images and add them to, a doc or something like that. You can also just create a link of your images by clicking on that link icon, or copy link address.
Save image as.
Save image.
Yeah, we'll let you download it.
Start that one.
Okay.
And so, now we have that image on our desktop that we can put into a slide deck or on a doc or wherever we might want to. You can also just share a quick link to that image. There's Mindy doing her again, and adding that to our slide deck.
Let's see what else is up there. Blabberize. So if anybody uses Chatterpix but needs an online version for Chatterpix, Blabberize lets you. Geez, our Wi-Fi. Blabberize allows you to do that online instead of with the app. So sometimes we see schools go from iPads and then they choose to go Chromebooks, and Chatterpix is always one that people are like, oh, I don't have Chatterpix anymore, I don't know what to do. So Blabberize is a way to do that as well. There is also Adobe, oh, it's time to go. Adobe Video, there's Book Creator on there, there's a pixel art, and then a blog post there about how to create your own GIF with Google Slides, so allowing students to draw and create Google Slides.
So before you head to your next session, if you happen to be in the corridor area this summer, or if you would like to come and spend some time in the sunny corridor between Cedar Rapids and Iowa City, I know everyone wants to be there in the summertime. We are hosting our second annual 4C Summer Camp this summer from June 11th to 13th. We just wanted to get the dates out there in case that's something that you guys might be interested in. If you'd like to connect further with us after today, these are all the places that you can find us online, and of course you can reach out via email, Twitter, and stuff, and we're happy to connect with you. So, thank you so much
Thanks for coming in.
Coming in.